Did you know that 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts? Now let's figure out the 20% for you to prioritize. So what is the 80-20 rule? It's part of a thing called the Pareto principle. And so the Pareto principle is named after an Italian economist named Vilfredo Pareto. And he observed that he kind of saw this phenomenon. I think he was working with peas of all things. And he noticed that 80% of the peas came from 20% of the plants. And while the percentages aren't exactly right, it could be 90-10 or it could be 75-25. It typically holds true. And what it's basically trying to tell you is that most of your stuff that you're doing is a complete waste of time, and that most of the results you're getting come from a small fraction of the things you do. So what do we do? How do we use this principle in business? Well, number one is we can try to figure out what percentage of our revenue comes from what percentage of our customers. And here's the deal. 80% of your profits are coming from 20% of your clients. What do you do with this information? Well, then you say, okay, let's find more 20% clients in order to increase our revenue. And so you start honing in on what makes up a 20% customer that's worth so much to you. And then you start focusing more and more on that type of customer in order to serve them and their needs more, and to find more of them is the number one. Now, here's the other thing. We waste an enormous amount of time on low impact tasks. So if you want to make 50 bucks an hour, you know how you make 50 bucks an hour? Well, you stop doing $10 an hour work and you only do $50 an hour work. Well, you say, I hear you. I can hear you coming through the camera. Wait a minute, somebody's got to do it. Well, yes, they do, but it doesn't necessarily have to be you. It can either be outsourced automation, or you can find somebody in a low-wage country to actually do the work for you. A lot of entrepreneurs have found a great amount of success working with virtual assistants out of countries like the Philippines, where their work ethic is very high and their cost per hour is very low, $2 to $3 an hour in a lot of cases. And you can hand off a lot of stuff to them. Bookkeeping is something you absolutely should outsource. It's nothing creative about bookkeeping, at least it's not supposed to be creative. And it's an easy skill to hand off to somebody else. So instead of you kind of muddling through it and spending hours and hours screwing around with the QuickBooks or whatever bookkeeping software you're using, trying to make the balance sheet balance, hand it off to somebody else. And actually you can hand that off to VAs as well. And basically the bottom line is, if you want to make 50 bucks an hour or 100 bucks an hour or 500 bucks an hour, you got to give up anything that is less than that. That's the general rule of thumb. And then what do you do with your time? So now that we're freeing up some time, when we're focusing on the 20%, so the next one is, of course, learn the most powerful word in the English language, which is no. And say no to everything that is not your 20%. Now, looking back in my 35 years of doing this, I can tell you right now that I've wasted an enormous amount of time not following the advice I'm giving you today. But not anymore. I'm much better at it. I hand off enormous amounts of stuff to other people. And here's the rule there. 80%, if they can do it 80% as good as me, that's 100% awesome for me. So if they can do it 80% as good as what I can do, then it's 100% awesome for me and for my time. Hey, at the end of the day, time is life. We only have so much of it on this planet. And you need to be focusing your time doing the tasks that are highest value to you and your company. So what's the action item for this week? Take 10 minutes, just 10 minutes, and just kind of write out a list of your biggest money makers. How do you make money? Is it sales? Is it doing the work? Figure out where the biggest leverage points are for you, and then commit to spending more time on these activities this week. And then we'll check in and see how you're doing. Hey, I'm Mark Richards. I'm a coach and consultant. I work primarily with blue-collar entrepreneurs. I own a manufacturing company, I own several. And so I love working with people like you that are trying to grow your business, or you're trying to scale, get to the next level. Reach out to me, Mark at Mark W. Richards. Let's see if I can help you get to where you want to go, right? And at the end of the day, that's all about your business for fun and profit. How can we give you more time to have more fun, make more money, and do so in a way that you preserve your life and your humanity and your sanity? All right, thank you so much. See you on the next video.